Welcome to a chilling journey into one of the bloodiest chapters of American mob history. This intense true crime documentary dives deep into the heart of the Philadelphia Mafia war that exploded in the early 1990s. A brutal power struggle between old-school mob bosses and ambitious young gangsters ignited a series of violent attacks that shook the city to its core. As blood spilled in the streets, the FBI launched one of its most dangerous undercover missions, risking everything to infiltrate the mob and bring it down from the inside. Our story begins with an unlikely hero, a college student in debt to the mob, who becomes the key informant that opens the door to the secretive world of organized crime. From planting bugs in bakeries to listening devices in law offices, we reveal the daring tactics the FBI used to unmask Philadelphia's most dangerous men. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to let us know your thoughts. Your support helps us continue telling the stories that matter, the ones too dangerous to be forgotten. Philadelphia, 1991. The air was thick with tension, though you wouldn't know it strolling through the narrow streets of South Philly. The delis still buzzed in the mornings, kids played stickball near corner stores, and men gathered outside cafes arguing about baseball or politics. But underneath that familiar hum was something brewing, something deadly. A brutal power struggle had ignited within the city's most feared underworld empire, the Philadelphia Mafia. The mob had long been part of Philadelphia's DNA. From its early days under Angelo Bruno, known as the Gentle Don, to the bloodshed that followed his 1980 assassination, the Philadelphia crime family had carved its name deep into the city's history. Now, a new chapter was being written, one soaked in paranoia, betrayal, and blood. At the center of this unfolding chaos was a Sicilian-born mobster named John Stanfa, a man trying to bring old-world order to a crumbling empire. But his rise would trigger a brutal internal war that consumed lives, shook neighborhoods, and drew the relentless attention of the FBI. It started, oddly enough, with a college kid in over his head. He wasn't a gangster, not even close. He had student loans, a part-time job, and a tendency to gamble just a little more than he should. That's how he ended up owing money to the wrong people. One bad bet led to another, and soon he was staring down a debt he couldn't pay. The men who came to collect weren't the types to offer payment plans. That's when the FBI saw an opening. The bureau had long struggled to infiltrate Philadelphia's mob. Informants rarely lasted, and agents constantly found themselves one step behind. But now they had someone who, by accident or fate, had stumbled into the right kind of trouble. They offered him a deal: help us get inside, and we'll make your problem go away. Desperate and terrified, he agreed. His name would be redacted in official reports for years, known only as CW-17, Confidential Witness Number 17. His task was simple in theory: get close, listen, report. In practice, it was like walking blindfolded through a minefield. The student was introduced to a low-level associate who ran errands for a man named Joe Legumby. From there, he was pulled deeper, helping out with deliveries, collecting envelopes, and occasionally driving men to backroom meetings. The FBI wired him up: tiny transmitters hidden in belt buckles, inside hats, under shirt collars. Every word he captured could be the one that cracked the case open. Meanwhile, John Stanfa was maneuvering like a chess master. He had inherited a broken organization filled with rival factions, untrustworthy lieutenants, and ambitious young sharks circling for a bite. To establish dominance, he tightened his grip on the streets, ordering hits, demanding loyalty, and silencing those who questioned his authority. But his old-school ways didn't sit well with a younger group of mobsters rising through the ranks. They called themselves the Young Turks, and they didn't just want in, they wanted control. Led by Joseph, Skinny Joey, Merlino and his childhood friends, the Young Turks were brash, flamboyant, and reckless. They dressed loud, talked louder, and made no apologies for their ambition. They felt Stanfar's time had passed, that he was a relic clinging to a crumbling throne. Their defiance grew bolder by the day. As the FBI gathered intelligence, they realized they were sitting on a ticking time bomb. Through hours of taped conversations, surveillance reports, and undercover recordings, a terrifying picture began to emerge. Stanfar was plotting hits on anyone he suspected of disloyalty, including his own men. The young Turks were arming themselves, preparing for war. The city was sleepwalking toward an all-out mob conflict. One of the first major acts of violence came late one summer evening. A known bookmaker named Felix Bocchino was gunned down outside his home. Witnesses claimed a masked man jumped out of a van, fired point-blank, and disappeared. It was a message. Someone was cleaning house. Days later, a parked car exploded in South Philly, narrowly missing a rival soldier. No one died, but the explosion shook nearby windows and nerves. Then came the shotgun attack. It was broad daylight. A mob soldier loyal to Stanfar pulled up to a red light. Another vehicle screeched beside him. From the passenger window, a man leveled the 12-gauge and fired. The blast shattered glass and left the victim slumped over his steering wheel. Miraculously, he survived. It was a miracle, and a warning. The war was now public. FBI agents scrambled to keep up. They planted listening devices in a local bakery, where mobsters frequently met. At night, they broke into a defense attorney's office and hid microphones in picture frames and light fixtures. Every word captured added to a growing mountain of evidence. But even with all that, proving leadership, who ordered what, remained difficult. Mobsters spoke in code, used lookouts, and changed meeting spots frequently. What the agents needed was direct access. That's when they sent in someone new, a contractor with ties to construction companies the mob extorted. This man, known as UC4, would play a dangerous game, pretending to be a crooked businessman looking for protection and willing to pay tribute. His recorded conversations with Stanfar's top men would become centerpieces in the future trial. By 1993, the war had reached its peak. Merlino's group had grown stronger. Several of Stanfar's trusted soldiers had been murdered or flipped. One was found in the trunk of his own car, duct tape still wrapped around his mouth. Another disappeared after agreeing to testify, only for his body to surface weeks later in the Delaware River. Stanfar responded with brutality. He ordered hits on Merlino's friends, some of which succeeded, others botched. One assassination attempt missed its target and hit a civilian. The backlash was fierce. Local media exploded with headlines. The city demanded action. The FBI, now under immense pressure, began unsealing indictments. Operation Dead End was the code name. Over 60 agents and local law enforcement officers executed a coordinated sweep. Dozens of arrests were made in a single day. Stanfar was taken into custody, his eyes cold and unflinching. His trial would become one of the most closely watched in Philadelphia's history. The courtroom was a theater of ghosts, betrayed mobsters, grieving families, wired witnesses, and taped confessions. FBI tapes played for the jury revealed Stanfar discussing murders with clinical detachment. His lawyer argued entrapment, but the evidence was overwhelming. He was convicted on multiple counts, including murder, racketeering, and conspiracy. Stanfar was sentenced to life in prison. The young Turks, though victorious, would not escape scrutiny. Merlino would rise to power, only to face his own legal battles years later. The Philadelphia mob survived, but forever changed. The college student who once owed the wrong people money? He disappeared into witness protection. His testimony, along with the FBI's relentless pursuit, helped dismantle one of the most dangerous criminal networks in the city's history. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the dark world of organized crime. We invite you to stay connected. Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. Every like and view helps us uncover more stories that deserve to be told. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.